Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to base. Just as they score the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is saved. Saved at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Denton. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Brackett throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them away from their faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings. Long drive. Left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie.
There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take.
I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Just hits it back. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good. than it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. Get in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the show. I am Dan Scott. Good to have you with us as we get things rolling here a day into the week.
Things not going
I
well.
have, as you know, taken yesterday off to kind of get myself a little squared away from a voice standpoint. And we are rocking and rolling and ready to go now, and looking forward to spending the next hour with you. And I'm starting to get sound from places that I'm not supposed to have sound coming from right now. And
you're still housing. You're still getting education.
Oh, okay. I know where it is. It's coming from a video that I'm wanting to play.
Your bed's been
a little bit later on. There we go.
1968.
All right, Tubby. We'll maybe get to you a little bit later on. You hear something, and I don't know if you folks could hear it, but I could, and it threw me off. Not that it takes a whole lot to throw me off these days, but, that's the way it goes. Anyway, we are happy to be here. Hope that you had a great weekend and that your week is off to a good start. On today's show, we've got a lot to get to. We're going to be obviously talking about what took place at the Southern Conference Tournament this weekend. We'll be looking back at baseball's weekend and ahead as to what the Paladins have on their plate beginning today, weather permitting. And then biggest news in the SoCon, other than UNCG winning the title yesterday, was the resignation after Furman beat Western Carolina, the resignation of Western Carolina's fine head coach and longtime NCAA basketball coach, Larry Hunter. Daniel Hooker, the SID, our buddy, will join us at 10:25 to talk about that, see if they saw that coming, what precipitated it, and perhaps where the Catamounts are going to go next. Larry Hunter, though, presided over really the best years of Western Carolina basketball, and we'll run through some of those numbers coming up in just a little bit. But that's what we have coming up on the show today. It was a long weekend. It was a fun weekend. If you look at it from my standpoint, and Tom Van Hoy and I are talking about this multiple times, as we do from time to time, but on Sunday evening, we're sitting there watching the first semifinal game between UNCG and Wofford, and watching it come down to the last possession. And in the 15 or 20 minutes or so prior to that last flurry where Alonzo hit the three, and then Wofford got three open looks. McGee missed twice, and Storm Murphy missed once, and UNCG escaped and would go on and win. I looked at Tom during that game. We were both just kind of sitting there quietly mesmerized by what was going on. I just looked over at him and said, we're lucky to do what we do. And he agreed. And I've said it before. He's the first person I ever heard use this analogy, and I think it's spot on. And I'll continue to use it and continue to give him credit for it. if life is a toy department, or if life is a department store, then we're fortunate to work in the toy department. For all of the other things that are going on in the world, and for all the things that may even be going on in the world of sports, at the end of the day, if you hashtag love your job like I do, and you can rid yourself of all the noise, the external stuff, and get down to it at its core, there's still that joy in doing what we do for a living. And, you're not getting rich off of it by any stretch of the imagination, but just feel very lucky and very blessed. It was a long week, and don't think that it wasn't. It was a long week for a lot of people. If you've ever been in a tournament situation before, working one, whether it's behind the scenes or whether it is part of the game day operation staff, I mean, just a single game is such an operation, and we take it for granted because everybody does their job and things run smoothly during the course of a regular season, or at least they appear to run smoothly. But you get into a tournament, and man, just like clockwork, and we're critical of officials, and we're critical of things, and that's what we do in the media sometimes. But Southern Conference puts on a nice tournament in Nashville, and I got to give them credit for that. The people up there work extremely hard. I know Phil Perry was running around like the proverbial chicken with his head cut off, trying to do everything he had to do as far as the media relations part of it, and then finding someone a Ethernet cord so he could actually get the broadcast on the air on Sunday. Someone. And just doing what they do, man. It's a great venue. It's in a great location. And the Southern Conference does a nice job with the basketball tournament. So kudos to them. They got the 1 versus 2 matchup for ESPN2 last night, and UNCG, of course, holds on as the number 1 seed, wins, and goes to the NCAAs for the first time since 2001. More about that coming up in just a bit. But Wes Miller, their 35-year-old head coach, was 18 years old the last time UNCG went to a NCAA tournament. That's how long it's been, which, comparatively speaking, Wes Miller wasn't even born the last time Furman went to an NCAA tournament. So there's a little bit of perspective there, and that's going to extend for at least one more year. We're going to talk about the Paladins' 2 games in the tournament when we come back in our first break, and what the 4 seniors meant to this program and where it goes from here under head coach Bob Ritchie. We'll do all of that. And as I said, we've got baseball to get to. We've got Daniel Hooker on the Larry Hunter resignation, and I'm going to try not to call him Larry Brown, I promise. A bunch of stuff to get to, and we're looking forward to having you along for the ride today. As we go to break, I'll remind you, as always, we're brought to you by the Atlanta Bread Company, located in Cherrydale Plaza, just down the road from campus. Great food, great people. Love the service that I get there. Love the choices that I have, especially now that I'm doing the Weight Watchers thing and I'm counting points everywhere that I go. But it's one of the places that I can go, and I'm confident that I can eat something that's going to be well within what I'm supposed to do. And there's even things there that I'm not supposed to have that are outstanding, like all the baked goods that they have, the breads and the muffins and the brownies and all that good stuff. And it's just phenomenal. You'll love it. Atlanta Bread Company, please thank them for what they do for us here on the show. You'll hear more about them in this commercial set, and we'll come back and get things rolling on this edition of the Dan Scott Show. Talking Southern Conference Tournament when we come back right after this. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. When the Furman baseball team goes on the road, it travels safely, comfortably, and with the latest technology with Gene's Tours and Charters. Jeans has been a Furman favorite for decades and has serviced Furman baseball for over 20 years. Take it from head coach Brett Harker. Book your next road trip with Jeans. Jeans Tours and Charters, online at jeansbussvc.com or call 864-242-1673. Jeans Tours and Charters, servicing the upstate since 1980.
If you've been sidelined by an injury, the St. Francis Sports Medicine team is here 24/7 to get you back on the field. Our highly trained network of physicians, athletic trainers, and physical therapists treat all types of sports-related injuries, even those that don't occur from playing a sport. Call the St. Francis Hurt Line at 675-HURT for priority appointments or at-home advice. Again, that's 675-HURT.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, we're back. It is the second segment of the show on this Tuesday edition. I'm Dan Scott. Good to have you along with us. Word quickly about Security Complete. You see their logo there. Find them on Facebook at Security Complete. The phone number is 864-546-0360. I'll tell you that again in a minute. Why would you want to call them? Well, if you want to do what I did, and that is change your home security service from one of the big companies that I didn't sign up for, to someone who I know locally who's going to take care of me, then you'll do what I did and go to Security Complete. See, I was happy with my service. I was happy with who I had at the time, and then that company was bought out by a larger company. And, quite honestly, I didn't ask for that. The service that I got was not nearly as good as it used to be, and I've told you the story about the mess that it called the first time I got a call from an 800 number when the alarm was accidentally set and I wasn't at home. I thought it was a telemarketer. I didn't answer the call, and the sheriff shows up at my house with my wife there. So it was just a big mess. Security Complete comes along, and I know the guys who are running the company. I know that they've got 40 years of experience, local ownership, local installation, local service, and the monitoring comes out of Charlotte. So I'm going to get a phone call that's either going to say Security Complete or come from a 704 number that I will be able to recognize, so I'll know to answer the phone if I'm away and the alarm is accidentally or, God forbid, on purpose tripped. They have, as I said, all the great industry experience. They are armed with the latest technology, which equals low overhead and more savings for customers, and their monitoring rates are significantly less per month than the competition. And they do it all: intrusion, fire, video, carbon monoxide, and I can control the entire system from my cell phone. I do not have to be home to do it. So again, on Facebook, it's Security Complete. Just search that name you see on your screen there, or give them a call at 864-546-0360, 546-0360. I need to get that graphic added to the logo there as well. All right, so let's talk SoCon tournament. Disappointing finish. I don't think there's any question to the season and to the careers of the four seniors who were the foundation of the turnaround of this program, and I'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit. But, it was very intriguing. I think the team came out, first of all, in the quarterfinal game and played like we thought that they would. Pardon me, there's something buzzing around in here. For the most part, a little lull here and there, but I found it interesting that Western Carolina had an 11-10 lead in that quarterfinal game on Saturday, and that was the first time they had led against Furman all season long. And all Furman did from that point, Jeff Beans hits a three, gets fouled, makes it a 4-point play, and starts a 16-2 run. And the Paladins never looked back, and they won that game by 24, led by as much as 28, and Andrew Brown didn't score, and Devin Sibley only had 7. So you're thinking, man, this is just a continuation of what we'd seen in the last 6 games of the regular season. That was win number 7, 23rd of the year. Again, ties the record for the most wins in school history. And then you're looking forward to an epic matchup again with East Tennessee State University in the semifinals, 1 week after the Paladins won a thriller in Johnson City. And, of course, the game here earlier in the season was also a thriller. Came down to the final 4.5 seconds when DeSante Bradford hit a shot, and the Bucks won by 1. Furman wins by 3 in Johnson City on the final day of the regular season, and we're thinking, man, this is going to be phenomenal. And then you had the first semifinal, as mentioned, between Wofford and UNCG come down to that finish. And, you know, we're sitting here, Tom and I are talking about it, and Bryant Lambert, man, what a night of basketball we're going to have. And then, quite honestly, our game started, and ETSU had a defensive mindset about it that we hadn't really seen. I mean, they played good defense before, but they were doing things to Furman, and Furman was reacting in ways that we were not accustomed to seeing. Catastrophic turnovers that turned into breakaways, and found themselves down by 13 at the half. Shot, I think we were 1 for our first 17 from the three-point line, and it was an eerie reminder of the Samford game in the quarterfinals the previous year, but with a much different defensive slant to it, because Samford, you recall, after the first 2 regular season games the previous season, in which they had pressed Furman full court and played mostly man-to-man, and the Paladins ran them off the court both times, they get to the quarterfinals in Asheville. They don't press. They sit back in a zone, and the Paladins have their worst shooting day of the season and lose that game. Well, fast forward to Sunday night, it was a defensive presence by ETSU, very aggressive defensive presence, that led to Furman's worst shooting night of the season and getting eliminated this time in the semifinals. Fell down by as many as 23 in the second half, battled back, got it to the final of 11, got to within 12, and then had a couple of opportunities to get it to single digits and missed shots. Had they done that, you're thinking, okay, and that would have come with, I think maybe under 4 minutes to go. Then you're thinking, all right, maybe the pressure begins to flip a little bit, because if you go from 23 points up with about 15 minutes to go, and I'm just guessing at that because I don't have the stat sheet in front of me, but you go from 23 up with 14 or 15 minutes to go, then you get down to about 3.5 minutes, and it's a 7 or 8 point ball game. Well, that's an eternity, as we have seen many, many times. But the Paladins never could hit those big shots, even though they got a couple of stops when they needed them, and ultimately never got closer than the final margin of 11. So it obviously was a disappointing end to the season. And I do want to say this: we had employed Bryant Lambert as a sideline reporter for the tournament, and he did a phenomenal job for us. And Bob Ritchie, the head coaches are immediately, they go back to the locker room. You have the 10-minute cooling off period or whatever, and then the conference takes them to the interview room. So we always get an assistant coach, Tyler Murray in this case, to come out and talk to us. Well, because we have Bryant there, Bob agreed that he would talk to Bryant immediately after the game, which on Saturday after the win against Western Carolina was an easy task to do, because they just won by 24 and had won their 7th straight and were continuing to play well. But I got to tip my cap to him. He came right to Bryant after the loss on Sunday and answered the 3 or 4 questions that Bryant threw to him in a very first-class, gentlemanlike manner. Did not have to do that for us, and quite honestly, I think I mentioned to Bryant, don't necessarily expect it. If he just walks on by, let him go. But he came right to Bryant and did that. And you know what? in this profession, our profession, you don't get that kind of cooperation often. And especially, I mean, I'm talking literally seconds after the loss, going through the handshake line and coming to Bryant before we got to the before they got back to the locker room. He talked to us before he addressed the team. So, I just wanted to publicly thank him for doing that. That was a first-class gesture on his part, and we greatly appreciate it. So the question now is, well, actually two questions. Will there be postseason basketball? My feeling on that is the chances are probably no. Not going to go into any further detail, and there's not a 100% definitive answer at this moment, but just some reasons and feelings. I would be surprised if there's any postseason basketball, but I do know there will be some discussions, and we'll see what happens. But after the last couple of years and the CIT, I think the idea is perhaps that this program has advanced enough now where it needs to be NIT or getting to the NCAA tournament. We'll see if that is the case or not. Again, there's no definitive answer yet. There's not been anything official put down, and I do know that there will be some discussions, or at least feel like there'll be some discussions today. But if I had to guess at this moment, I'd think that the season is done. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's number one. Number two, just a thought about the four seniors. What John Davis III and Daniel Fowler, Devin Sibley, Jeff Beans meant to this program. And meant, that's not even the right word to do it, because, yeah, their careers are over, but their influence will remain here. It will continue to be an active influence, because in the annals of Furman basketball history, if the Paladins have indeed turned the corner as a program and are going to be this good and this competitive moving forward for an extended period of time, then history is going to look back on these four players that Nico Medved brought in here, with Bob Ritchie being the lead recruiter on all of them, and say those are the four guys that laid the foundation. Those are the four guys that the program was built on, and those are the four guys that turned it around. Now, other people obviously played big roles in that. Stephen Kroon was there for 3 of those 4 years, and Kendrick Ferrara, and, Chris Acox was there for 3 of those 4 years. And you can go right on down the line. But as far as Nico Medved's first recruiting class, the first full class, and Bob Ritchie, again, was the lead guy on all of them, these are the 4 that were the building block. These were the 4 that were brought in to be the foundation. And I think you have to say mission accomplished. If you look at what they did, twice tying the all-time wins record in a single season, winning the most games ever, 22 this year in a regular season, most games ever in the program history for a 3-year span, second most wins ever by a senior class, and on and on and on. Mission accomplished. Yeah, they came up short of the ultimate goal of getting to the NCAAs, but as far as the mission of turning this program around, those guys were brought in to be the foundation, and they did exactly what they were asked to do. And when history looks back, when time looks back on the Furman program, if it is able to sustain long-term success, those 4 guys are going to be the ones, and should be the ones, that are looked at as the ones who started it all, the foundation of the turnaround, of the building, the rebuilding, and rebranding of Furman basketball. It's been a privilege for me, and I'm more than twice the age of all of those guys. But I have a great appreciation, especially after having been at the other level, working at Clemson and traveling around the BCS or the Power 5 level, whatever you want to call it now, and then getting the opportunity to come here. and see things on a completely different scale and see what has to happen and the fights and the struggles and the things that go on behind the scenes that people have no idea about, that the big schools don't have to worry about, to be able to get the proper funding and the proper budgeting and everything else that comes into play to try and raise a program from the ashes. It's been a privilege for me to have been behind the microphone for these kids for all 4 of their years. Yeah, I wish they had made the NCAAs. I wish they'd been able to make that as their crowning achievement. It didn't happen, but it's not the end of their world. In fact, their world is really just opening up now, and they will be looked back upon by Furman fans and history as being the foundation for this program and the ones who are the linchpin of the turnaround. And I had a front seat for it, and I'm grateful for that. All right, let's go to break. We'll come back. Daniel Hooker will join us, and we'll talk about Larry Hunter's resignation up in Cullowhee and what that means for that program. This is the Dan Scott Show, and we will return in just a moment.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
Life's healthier when you're backed by a Greenville Health System primary care doctor. Because then, the doctor that has your back is backed by the more than 1,000 physicians and specialists at the region's leading health system, all working together to bring you the right care in the right place at the right time. Great health starts with a GHS primary care doctor, and there are more than 200 of them conveniently located throughout the upstate, ready to see you. Find yours today at ghs.org/mydoctor.
Zaxby's food has always brought people together. Catering to the big moments, the little wins, the long talks, and the quick getaways. Because food this inviting is bound to add a lot of flavor to your life.
Introducing the Zax Pack. Served with chicken fingers, sides, Texas toast, and iced tea. Pick one up for dinner or your next event. Friends, family, flavor. Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
I was surprised recently when I learned that Americans spend $80 billion a year on illegal sports gambling. Sure, that's spread out over millions of gamblers, but still it makes you wonder where that money's coming from. Unfortunately, too often it's coming from money that was intended to buy groceries, pay the mortgage, or even put children through college. If gambling's had a negative impact on your life, call the SC Gambling Hotline toll-free at 877-452-5155. Help is confidential and available 24 hours a day. A message from the South Carolina Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services.
We are back. Good to have you with us here on the show on this Tuesday edition of the program. I'm Dan Scott, and thank you for joining us. Quick word about our friends at OpSource Staffing, independent, faith-based, privately held staffing, recruiting, and workforce management company that began in 2007 with a mission to serve and connect great people to great companies. With OpSource, it's all about the relationship and not the transaction. They believe that by building relationships, they'll become an integral part of your overall staffing experience. They have 5 branch locations: Greenville, Spartanburg, Gaffney, and Charleston here in South Carolina, also one in Arden, North Carolina. They do most of what they do in the what you call the manufacturing industry, service industry, providing contractors, companies in need of welders, pipe fitters, construction, pickers and packers, warehouse, forklift drivers. You kind of get the idea. But they also provide a managed services division that offers on-site managed programs for companies who use a large volume of contract staffing. Find out more and find out how they can streamline your contract workforce for the better by calling OpSource Staffing today, toll-free 866-870-8133, or you can go online and you see OpSource Staffing. Just add .com to that graphic, and you will get them ready to roll. All right, this baseball season, when Western Carolina visits the Paladins here at Latham Stadium, I'm going to miss the entire series because that's the weekend that my daughter is graduating from college down at the College of Charleston out of the nursing program. And if you know Becky, some of you do, there's nothing about her that it's going to be a one-night thing. It's going to be a weekend-long gig. So Tom Van Hoy will be doing baseball, which means I will not get to see my buddy Daniel Hooker that weekend. So I'm trying to find any and every excuse I can to get him on the air, spend some time with him here, because we won't get to talk that weekend. Unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunately, I don't know. Daniel will tell us. We're talking to him under the auspice of the announcement after Furman's game against Western Carolina in the SoCon tournament that Larry Hunter was stepping down as the Catamounts head coach. Hook, how you doing, man?
Doing wonderful, man. Just getting ready for a little baseball here in the Cullowhee Valley this afternoon. Hoping this rain gets out of here. Supposed to play Marshall in a doubleheader. Supposed to play at noon, but got already pushed back to 1:30. Just hoping this rain gets out of here, and so we can play some baseball.
Yeah, we have the same issue. Fortunately, our hour-by-hour forecast looks like we're going to be fine for a 4 o'clock start against Penn, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for you guys. Well, let's get into this. Did this resignation by Coach Hunter, was it something that caught people by surprise? Did you know it's coming? Was he helped along in the decision to resign? What can you tell? What are you allowed to tell us? How about that?
Well, with Coach Hunter, just first and foremost, a class act.
Yes.
I think he did things the right way here in Cullowhee for 13 seasons. And in this day and age, seeing a coach stay somewhere for more than a decade is almost unheard of, especially someone with the success that he had, starting at Wittenberg all the way to Ohio University and then here in Cullowhee for 13 years. And, you got he and Mike Young were two of the elder statesmen in the league. Talk about all the turnover we've had coaching-wise at the various schools around the conference, but always did it with class, always did it with dignity, win or lose. And Coach has said, basically, time to look at something else, and thought that Western Carolina might need some different, a new vision perhaps when it comes to men's basketball. Obviously, all you can ask of a coach is to do it better than he did it before and leave the place better than where he found it. And I definitely think even with just, an early exit from the conference tournament and, a couple of down years, the last 2 years, gave Catamount fans and gave Southern Conference fans some great memories in terms of, you look back at a couple of the championship game runs that he was able to make, at the helm of the program. And so I want to say it was a surprise. I think obviously it's one of those things that you never wanted upon anybody. They're going to step aside, and you're not going to see that individual, and especially someone you have seen. And probably myself here in the department at Western Carolina, one of the few people that have been here. And I remember when the hire was made, and I'm one of the few people still around in this department just because of, like I mentioned, the college athletics turnover. That was here for the entire time and have seen the program go from where it was to where it is. And, obviously a rocky road along the way at times and smooth sailing and all sunshines and smiles at other times.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he said, obviously he wanted to, I talked to him, he goes, we've wanted to win more, as we all do, and wanted to try to get the team into the NCAA tournament. But you go back and look at it. I mean, we've had one 20-plus win season since moving Division I. We've had a couple times we got close, but only one of them that we got to the 20-win plateau, and he did it. We've only been to postseason play 3 times, 1996 with the NCAA tournament, and then 2 times with the College Insider tournament and the CBI, and he did 2 of the 3. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that took our program to where we were on the cusp on a lot of different times, and just did it with class, did it with dignity, and great graduation rate, great APR rates, all that, everything he did. I definitely think he has left the program in a better spot than when he found it.
Yeah, and obviously made the Ramsey Center a very difficult place to play for opponents more often than not on a year-in, year-out basis. For our viewers, I've got his statement up on the screen now, and he said, quote, "Sometimes when you've been at one place for a number of years, it's just time for new leadership and new voice," and went on to talk about his 13 years and all the positive change that he'd seen. It's interesting, Daniel, in all of the stops that he's made as a head coach, they've all been at least 12 seasons in all three of his stops, and you don't see that very often anymore.
No, and obviously his first stop at Wittenberg won a national championship first year out. And obviously you realize that, yeah, he might have done it with another coach's players when he first got there, but doing what he did at Wittenberg, landed him a job back at his alma mater at Ohio, had some great years there. We actually got to meet on one of our road trips during Coach Hunter's tenure, Gary Trent, who he coached at OU, the Shack of the Mac. And of course, now we're seeing Gary Trent's son, what he's able to do. But, and just some of the players that he's coached along the way, and some of the things that his teams have been able to do under his leadership. And, so it is great to see him be able to coach as long as he has. 40 plus years as a basketball coach, 36, 37, 38 of those as a head coach, between just three stops. And that's the other thing. You mentioned 12 plus years at every stop. How amazing is that to see a coach that's not out after 1 or 2 years, or not looking to move on after 1 or 2 years, and having the success that he was able to have.
Well, and the other side,
700 plus wins.
Yeah, the other side of that too is an administration who doesn't get an itchy trigger finger, and even at our level, we see that sometimes just as quickly as a coach wanting to move up. And I point to what's happened at UNCG now. Wes Miller, his first year, that 11-11 season as the interim head coach, earned him the Southern Conference Coach of the Year. And then they had 4 consecutive losing seasons, but UNCG stuck with him. And you see what's happened in each of the last 2 years, culminating now with their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2001. So there's something to be said for patience on both sides of things. And I also think it's to the credit of the administration up there that they had patience. Now, it's easier maybe to have patience with a veteran guy to a certain degree than it is with a young, unproven coach like Miller. But still, in today's win or go home mentality, no matter who you are, no matter where you're coaching, 13 years is a long time these days.
Yeah, you look back on it. You talk about, I heard you talking about Wes Miller and where he was last time the Paladins made a run to the tournament. A lot of these players, they don't realize, when they're coming into a program of a veteran coach like Coach Hunter and where he's been, and they don't remember the players that he coached at OU that were so great, the guys that went on to the NBA and things of that sort, or remember what he was able to do with his OU teams. And again, it's just do everything right, and Coach Hunter's slogan, and he said this when he first got to Western, and has really stuck by it. He goes, my philosophy is show up early, chop wood all day, and make something happen. And that's what he did. He show up early, he work hard all throughout the day. You talk about a guy that lived and breathes basketball still. And we'll see where he goes on, if he's going to look at other options, other coaching options, or
I was going to ask you about that. Do you think he's done?
I really don't. I could see him being, like I said, when he was let go at OU, at Ohio University, landed on with Herb Sendek down at NC State as an assistant head coach, or as an assistant coach, and then later progressed to associate head coach. Just a great mentor and an example of how to do things right. And that's what he was in our department as well. We had a lot of young coaches up and coming that were able to lean on him, and we'll use him as an example of shining beacon, if you will, of how to run a program correctly, to be patient with players. It might be easy to look at, in this day and age of college athletics, we've talked about the one and done and guys that are coming in and playing for a year and then looking to jump. And we don't see it nearly as much as the mid-major level, but at the same time, it's bring in freshmen and not only build a program around young guys that are making are growing as basketball players, but they're growing as young men. And I think that's the mentor aspect that he did, and also to mentor young coaches and being able to do that with an assistant coaching staff. You talk about a guy that has had some great assistant coaches. You look at a Dustin Ford who played for him at OU, who's on staff, I think, up at Stony Brook now, and some of the guys that have gone on. Eric Wilson, who finished up a career, actually earned a scholarship. Eric was a walk-on player here at Western Carolina, earned a scholarship under Hunter, and moved him on. He's down, I think, middle part of the state coaching college basketball. So, just the touching of the program and having his hands on the program for so long, he did so much for us in Cullowhee. And like you mentioned, made it a tough place to play for a lot of teams. I mean, he won almost 75% of his games here at home, which is saying a lot considering how much, how talented and how deep our league has been over the last 13 years with a lot of teams, a variety of teams having success. And like you said, at the end of the day, he goes, he wished we could have won more. Wish we could have taken the team back to the NCAA tournament, which, is every team's goal at the beginning of the year. But I think he did it the right way. He wasn't going to cut any corners trying to make that happen. And, left us with some great memories. And obviously the ones that stick the most are, championship run, that tournament game when, we're down a dozen points at the last media timeout, and all of a sudden team makes a run, forces overtime against Davidson, and then you had an entire conference, people from around the league. I mean, I was getting messages all night from a variety of people around the conference about, wow, what is going on in Asheville with this tournament run and how exciting of a game it was.
Yeah, so, please beat Davidson, right?
Yeah, that's I was going to leave that part out just for the competitive nature. But, yeah, a lot of people were like, love to see, because Davidson, you look at what Coach McKillop has done there. I very similar tenure tracks in terms of building programs and not wanting just to win for today, but wanting to win for tomorrow by building a program and understanding that, David Belcher, who is obviously our chancellor here at Western Carolina, who's been battling, took a leave of absence, stepped down because of battling a brain cancer. He made a statement in one of his early addresses to campus that we as workers at a college, we're stewards for a time. It's our job to steer the ship while we're here and make sure it's going in the right direction. And I think that spoke to me, but it also, those very words are very reminiscent of a Larry Hunter and what he was able to do with the program and guide it in the right direction. And yeah, we've got some work to do. We've got to build and looking forward to the next head coach and finding the right fit. Because we all know Cullowhee's it's not everybody's cup of tea in terms of being here in the mountains and beautiful setting. A lot of the things that are great about Cullowhee are also our shortfalls in a way, in terms of where we are. And it's tough to recruit to this area, but if you could find the right individual that can come in here and make something happen, you could have something special here, a little hidden gem in the mountains, if you will.
Yeah, it's my favorite trip in the conference each and every year. Just absolutely gorgeous, except for the stupid walk up the steps to the press box in football. I'm glad I don't have to do that every other year. Hooker, that's not made for a guy with my physical acumen right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, our good friend Hunter Reed is still working with me, trying to figure out how he made the move there at Paladin Stadium, how we got things going in the right direction. So he's still sending me pointers on how to make it happen here in Cullowhee. But,
yeah. Find somebody to stroke the check. That's how you do it. Exactly. Daniel Hooker, the SID at Western Carolina, joining us here talking about the resignation of longtime basketball coach Larry Hunter, and now obviously the search will go on for his replacement. The trend in, I think, all of college sports now, quite honestly, you've got the dinosaurs who have been out there and who will be there in certain places as long as they want to be, like the Krzyzewskis and John Beeline at Michigan and Izzo at Michigan State and those guys. But the trend now with today's athlete is to go for a younger head coach with the feeling that they can, quote unquote, communicate with those players better. Do you have any sense at all, Daniel, what the coaching search direction will look like to find Larry's replacement?
Well, just the landscape of college basketball right now with the FBI investigations and all this stuff that we look at it from afar, from our level, and even though we are on the same par with Division I programs, you look at some of the stuff that's happened, right, wrong, or indifferent, and obviously innocent until proven guilty, but it just makes you sick to your stomach realizing some of the stuff that is happening with such a great game. I've said, and I'm so, as an SID and as a radio guy, I'm kind of cyclical because football season, I'm all about football and love football and don't really think about basketball. But once it gets into basketball season, you're gung ho basketball and you don't want it to end.
Hey, did you say cyclical or cynical?
That both.
Okay, because like I said, that is the nature of our business too. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
But and then once we get to the end, then there's that carrot at the end of there that's dangling out there that is baseball season that both you and I so enjoy. It's kind of always the reward for me of a long season of working through late hours of long trips with basketball and things of that sort. But so we'll see. Obviously we're being open and we're looking at a variety of individuals when it comes to who we might look at. Not discrediting anybody at the Power 5 level as an assistant coach, that sort of thing. But you want somebody that it's going to work. You want somebody that's not been given things and been able to have success because of what they were given.
Yeah.
We want somebody that's going to come in here and work. You're looking for somebody, and be it a Division II coach that has worked their way up, be it an assistant at our level, really open. I don't know that there's a magic button. I think obviously the words that come to mind are integrity and hardworking, someone that can recruit, and someone that knows this level and knows the Southern Conference and the history and tradition that it has. And you hit the nail on the head. You really want somebody that can communicate with the millennials and with the kids of these days, because it is a different mindset, I think, and it runs the gamut, and of what type of student athlete you're dealing with. But somebody that's going to do it right, not going to take a shortcut and do things the right way. So it's going to be a long and hard process trying to find someone that has all of those attributes that's going to want to come to Cullowhee and build and take us to the next level, that sort of thing. But I'm confident that we can find the right person with our staff. Randy Eaton, all I have to do is look at Mark Spear and the job that he did when he found a guy with unbelievable values, unbelievable morals, unbelievable communication skills with our kids. And Mark Spear has been that, it's one of those things that it's, you talk about it, you wonder, what are you looking for? But it's almost like, I'll know it when I see it.
Right.
If that makes sense. You'll know the fit and how they interact with the student athletes when we get to that point of on-campus interviews. But, it's going to be a difficult process, and you hope you can find a gym. I think you guys have found a couple of gyms the last couple of years down at Furman. Obviously Wes Miller has been a good find for UNCG, coming off of Mike Dement's staff and taking it. And again, the patience to build, the patience to allow him to get his players into the system. And I mean, wow, look at what they were able to accomplish.
Yep.
I thought Coach Forbes, I thought they had the better athletes. I think UNCG was the better team last night in terms of 1 through 15 up and down the bench. I think ETSU has better players in my mind's eye, individual athletes, but I do think when it came right down to it, what it took was a team, and that's what won the championship. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a long process, but we're excited about the process and what the future might hold.
Yeah, it's going to be a completely different feel for people going in there. I know Bob Ritchie thinks so much of Larry Hunter, and we all know, those of us who are really familiar with what schools are asked to do at this level and the beating that Larry's teams were asked to take on behalf of the university by playing so many quote-unquote money games each and every year during the off season or during the non-conference season, and to still put competitive teams out there and do the things he did speaks very, very highly of him, and why everybody that I know speaks very highly of him. Hey, Hook, I gotta ask you before we get out of here.
Sure.
I gotta flip the script just a little bit here. What in the world is going on with Bobby Miranda's bunch up there? You guys are struggling, man.
Well, we are, and I think it's youth. I mean, you can't lose You lose Brendan Nail, who's going to be your number one starting pitcher after the draft. Went to the Cape and was having a tremendous year in the Cape and got signed after the draft, and that brings up a whole other thing that I thought personally, obviously, because it was our loss here at Western, felt that was a failure of the system. You had a chance to draft the kid, you didn't, and all of a sudden, it's not like you don't see Western Carolina players because we go play the Georgias, the Georgia Techs, the North Carolinas, the NC States. We played Nebraska. We played a bunch of people last year, and you got to see Brendan Nail the year before, NCAA tournament. We play Clemson every year. So it's not like scouts did not have a chance to see this kid, and then he gets signed after. But you're grateful that he got signed. You're thankful that he's progressing along in professional baseball. But you lose him. You lose your starting shortstop and Brett Pope to the draft. You knew you were going to have to rebuild. We had a freshman pitcher coming in that we were counting on that got drafted. So all of a sudden, some of the pieces of the puzzle weren't there. But it's been a struggle. 1-10 to start the year. I think it's probably the worst start in program history without going back too far and looking, just because of where we have been and what our program has been. But I will say this. I look back to our good friend Jack Leggett. I do know he started a year, I think, I forget what year, but he started a season 2-11. They only won 25 games during the year overall, but still managed to win the regular season and the tournament in the Southern Conference. So, yeah, a 1-10 start to the year is not what anybody had wanted, but we're still hopeful that we haven't played a single conference game yet, so we're still 0-0 just like everybody else in the league. And we go win every Southern Conference game, then it writes itself. But youth, and we've not pitched particularly well. Too many walks, way too many errors, but we've been moving guys around, and so we'll see how it all shakes out. But you got to think a veteran coach like Coach Miranda, who's been here, and hard to believe that he's in his 11th year in Cullowhee this year, but some work to do, and because I tell you, tough non-conference schedule, but it doesn't get any easier when you start looking at the year that our league is having as well. So it doesn't get any easier, but work to do. And I think, like I said, it starts for us again today as we try to right the ship this afternoon against an old SoCon foe as Marshall comes to town for a doubleheader.
Well, hope the weather clears and you guys can get that in and see what happens there. And we'll be very interested to watch coming full circle back to the basketball conversation to see what happens, who the Catamounts are able to bring in and what goes there. I think I agree with you. I think it's a hidden gem there in the mountains, and the right person can come in and do some good things up there. So we'll be watching. Don't want it to be too good now. We want our purple to still have have an advantage over yours. But
definitely understand that.
But
like we say, we always pull for our chromatic rival brothers, the brethren. Love to see the conference do well, and I think we've got a great conference. I heard you talking earlier about the job the SoCon does, and
well, you know what,
being in downtown Asheville and seeing everything, it's great. I love it with the different school colors, the different teams. It always worked out that it was blue and gold against blue and gold just about every time, and it was purple against purple. So I was like, man, it's hard to tell who's who in the stands.
Yeah, I'll say this and I'll let you go. I have been critical of certain things in the conference, usually when it comes to officiating and things like that. But I think if you're going to be critical, then you also have to be not just able but willing to give praise where praise is due. And they put on a fantastic tournament. They absolutely put on a fantastic tournament up in Asheville.
I think I've looked at this and I still say, and I'll stick by it, I feel it's one of the last conference basketball tournaments that's still about the fan. There's so much of the big time basketball that's all about corporations, I think, in terms of corporate sponsors and tickets, and you got to be the who's who to get tickets to go. But I still think our tournament, there are others at our level and others around the country, obviously, but having been at the conference level, having worked at the conference level, having been at a conference member, I don't think there's any tournament better. It's just every year. I mean, I've been to every single tournament since 1996. I went to the first one in 96. The one Western Carolina won. I was hooked on where I wanted to go to school from that point on. And so if anybody ever says that athletics doesn't have an impact on enrollment, I always laugh because I'm like, I'm a living proof.
Yep.
I mean, didn't want to leave the big city of Greensboro to come to the mountains and go to a small school until that moment. And then from 96 on, I've been to every single game or every single tournament. and have loved every minute of it and look forward to it every single year. Win, lose, or draw. If we're out early, if we're making it to the championship, I'd stick around and watch basketball and watch our student athletes do what they do, and the bands and the cheerleaders and the dance teams and just the whole camaraderie, because there is a rivalry, but at the end of the day, there's still that respect of, wanting the conference to represent itself well, going to the next level. So I just love the tournament, and that's the long and short of it.
Well, Hook, listen, man, I appreciate your time, especially on short notice, and we'll do it again once the hire is made, and you can tell us all about the wonderful new basketball coach I know that you'll have up there in Colowee. But, hey, go get them baseball-wise today. Take it easy on my West Virginia boys, would you?
Yeah, but we'll see what we can do. We got to get things going in the right direction. We took two or three from them last year down here. We were supposed to play this up in West Virginia, in fact, and I think they're doing something to their stadium and couldn't guarantee that it was going to be ready in time, so they decided to move these 2 games down to here, because we finished up 3 games at Louisville over the weekend, 10th ranked team in the country. But nevertheless, like I said, we'll see what we can do with those guys from beautiful West Virginia today as we get the Thundering Herd in town.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate all you do, my friend.
All right, that is Daniel Hooker from Western Carolina University. We'll continue to follow the story as they now are searching for a new basketball coach in Colowee. Quick break, and we'll come back and put a wrap on things on the show right after this. Stay with us.
Zaxby's food has always brought people together, catering to the big moments, the little wins, the long talks, and the quick getaways. Because food this inviting is bound to add a lot of flavor to your life.
Introducing the Zax Pack. Served with chicken fingers, sides, Texas toast, and iced tea. Pick one up for dinner or your next event. Friends, family, flavor. Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
I was surprised recently when I learned that Americans spend $80 billion a year on illegal sports gambling. Sure, that's spread out over millions of gamblers, but still it makes you wonder where that money's coming from. Unfortunately, too often it's coming from money that was intended to buy groceries, pay the mortgage, or even put children through college. If gambling's had a negative impact on your life, call the SC Gambling Hotline toll-free at 877-452-5155. Help is confidential and available 24 hours a day. A message from the South Carolina Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services.
The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. Welcome back. Our thanks to Daniel Hooker for spending some time with us today. A little bit of an extended interview, but why not? Good stuff. Man, our best to Coach Hunter and whatever is next for him. And it will be very intriguing to see who they can get to come there. I mean, that sounds like such a flip statement, and I don't mean it that way, because there are tons and tons of assistant coaches out there who are climbing the ladder who would love to have a job and come in there and have some success and continue to move up the ladder. That's at this level. Furman has its unique challenges because of the academic requirements and everything else. Colowee has its unique challenges because of the location, and not everybody is made for that small town mountain type of atmosphere. But you get the right guy in there, and I'm telling you, that place is a hidden gem. It really, really is. We'll see what happens and continue to follow that story. Quick word about Ridge Media, LLC. They are located in downtown Greenville, one-stop shop based in Greenville, as a matter of fact. They do logo, print, and website design, as well as search engine optimization and marketing. Their clients range from startups to Fortune 500 companies. They're locally owned. They're a marketing firm, and they have offices in Greenville, which is their base, and also in Charleston. So call today, schedule a free consultation, 864-354-6175, 864-354-6175. 6175 and tell them that you heard about them here on the show. All right, so here's the deal. As I'm sitting here overlooking Paladin Stadium out towards Paris Mountain, the rain is falling now, but just had text conversation back and forth with Brett Harker. They're seeing basically the same thing that I'm seeing, that the weather forecast hour by hour is saying this stuff is going to move out of here. So we should have baseball this afternoon at Latham Stadium beginning at 4 p.m. first pitch. 2-game midweek series with the University of Pennsylvania. Yes, the Quakers are in town. 3:45 will be the airtime, and today will include our flagship station, Fox Sports 1440. So we'll have all of our available outlets on board: Fox Sports 1440, the Campus FM 95.9, SoCon Digital Network video with our call on it, TuneIn Radio, FurmanPaladins.com. You can't get away from us, folks. We're taking over the world, at least the Furman baseball world. And then the series scheduled to end at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and then a pair of games this weekend at Fluor Field against schools named Michigan State and Illinois. So it'll be interesting to see how this week plays out, coming off of a series win over Central Connecticut State this past weekend. Trent Alley gets to start for the Paladins today. Nick Verbeck scheduled to get the start tomorrow. Now, having said all of that, I want to remind you about Hall's Chop House before we get out of here, and just again preach the incredible steaks that they have there amongst everything else on their menu. The Allen Brothers Prime Steaks, though, are the feature attraction on the menu at Hall's Chop House, and everything else falls into place from there. But equally as important is the way they treat their customers, no matter how packed the place is, which it is packed. They will turn over 350 to 450 sometimes people a night in that place, and they're open from 4 until whenever. They find a way to make you feel like you're the most important person there, and not every place can do that. But Billy and his people have been doing that for years down at the original Halls in Charleston, and now coming up on their second anniversary here in downtown Greenville. Hall's Chop House open for dinner 7 nights a week, brunch on Sundays. Please tell them that you heard about them here on the show. All right, with that, we are going to take our leave. Got some stuff to do here, and then heading over to the old ball orchard to get ready for baseball. Furman and Penn, 3:45. And don't forget, if you tune in at FurmanPaladins.com, usually about 20 minutes before the scheduled pregame showtime, you get our little package of fun stuff that we play to kind of be our place setter, if you will, for the internet broadcast. So just kind of keep that in mind. Until then, for all of us here at Furman, again, thanks to Daniel Hooker for joining us. I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. And so long, everybody. We'll talk to you from Latham later this afternoon.